What's up, you guys? David Richie here, functional breathing instructor. I am going to demonstrate the importance of nasal breathing while you exercise. But it's not only important during exercise, it is very important that you breathe through your nose and only your nose during your waking hours, and especially if you want to get good quality sleep. You need to be breathing through your nose 100% of the time while you sleep. Now, I don't normally, or actually this is the first time I've ever taped my lips while I run. And actually I really don't run that much these days. I probably run once every 2 months. And however, I do an hour of breath work every morning. So if you think about it, and the way that I do it and the way that I teach it, I am exercising my diaphragm, I'm exercising my lungs for an hour straight. So that is why I'm able to just go ahead and go for a run. Now, what I have not done in a long time is run on a treadmill. It's been years since I have actually run on a treadmill. So as you're going to see, when you're running on the street, you're just, you're kind of going at your pace. So what I started doing was going to what I remembered my old speed was, what I used to do for warm up and then for top speed. Now, I wasn't planning on getting to my old top speed, but I did start off at 5.5 miles per hour. And I did that for a quarter of a mile. And basically I went up a half a mile per hour every quarter of a mile till I got to 7. And then, as you'll see, when I'm there for about a quarter of a mile, I start realizing, and maybe you can't tell, maybe it was just internal, but I started saying, I think I better slow down to maintain my nasal breathing, which is a very important point for anybody exercising. If you can't maintain the exercise that you are doing solely breathing through your nose, then you're better off slowing down, as it is a detriment to you to be breathing through your nose, through your mouth. And I will get into that. So, why don't we get into that? So if you're interested, I do, on the 4th Saturday of every month at Bee's Wellness Cafe and Juicery, 30,000 Oaks, I do a lecture on the importance of nasal breathing. We go over a few exercises, and then there's an amazing sound bath at the end that is done by our yoga instructor and good friend Mallory Shaw. So if you're interested in a class type situation, I do, it's very brief. It's, 15, 20 minutes. And then we go into a few exercises and then a sound bath. But I also do private sessions, which I've been doing more and more of. I also will come out and speak and do, for employees. If you're at a place that is high stress, I would love to go and show you how you can use your breath to basically bring you back out of that stress mode and into more of a relaxation mode. So, the importance of nasal breathing. I used to always think that you breathe in your nose, right? Or you breathe anyway, but you breathe in oxygen. And then you exhale the waste gas, carbon dioxide. And that's not actually the case. I mean, you do breathe out carbon dioxide, but you're not breathing out all of your carbon dioxide, as you must maintain carbon dioxide. See, the primary stimulus for us to breathe is not a lack of oxygen, right? If you take a deep breath and you hold it, if you're not used to holding your breath, probably after 20, 30 seconds, you're going to feel the need to breathe. But you just took a breath. You just took in oxygen, so why are you needing to breathe? The reason is that carbon dioxide is building up in your body. And if you're not used to it, if you have a very low tolerance, then you need to go ahead and take a breath. Now, the primary stimulus for us to breathe is carbon dioxide. So when you take a breath in, comes into your lungs, from there it goes into your blood, right? So oxygen travels in the hemoglobin of the blood. For it to come out of the hemoglobin, and into the rest of your cells and muscles, carbon dioxide must be present. So if you inhale to a full tank of oxygen and you have a full tank of carbon dioxide, you are going to get a full oxygen exchange. Now, if you have been an overbreather your whole life, you're a mouth breather, you're a fast, shallow chest breather, then what you have been doing is you have been exhaling excess carbon dioxide, which is not good. So if we had a gauge, which we kind of do, we have these chemosensors in our brain that measure the carbon dioxide in our body. But let's just say there was a gauge in the back of your neck. Every time you exhaled out of your mouth or you were breathing too fast, what is happening is your body will adjust, but it starts adjusting on a downward trend, right? So your carbon dioxide gauge is going down. So let's think about somebody who has asthma or COPD. COPD is a good one. Let's forget about the tar because usually people with COPD have been longtime smokers. So let's forget about the tar for a little bit. And let's think about what happens when they take an inhale and then they blow out their smoke, right? You're exhaling. Well, you're exhaling too much carbon dioxide every time you exhale. So your carbon dioxide gauge is going lower and lower and lower and lower and lower after years and years and years of smoking. Then your tolerance for carbon dioxide is so low that even though you can take a full breath, you feel breathless. You feel like you're not getting enough air. And that's because you have such low carbon dioxide tolerance that there's barely in your body to go ahead and get the oxygen out of the hemoglobin, out of the blood. And this also is not good because now you have too much oxygen in your blood that has not come out, and that turns into free radicals in your body. But let's just go to, not a smoker, just regular people who, this was me before 5 years ago, right? I didn't know. For the most part, I wasn't too much of an overbreather, but if you're not conscious of it, you're overbreathing. If you are not breathing in for 6 seconds and exhaling for 6 seconds, then you are overbreathing. And that sounds kind of opposite, right? It would seem like if you're breathing longer in and longer out, that's overbreathing. But actually, when you're not breathing 6 in and 6 out, then you are hyperventilating. Hyperventilating doesn't have to mean like an asthma attack. It just means you're breathing too much, too fast. So that covers the carbon dioxide, and that's the reason why we need it. That's the reason why you should breathe in and out of your nose so that you don't exhale too much carbon dioxide. Not to mention, when you exhale out of your mouth, you are losing 42% more moisture than if you were to exhale out of your nose. But let's start at the top, or at the tip of the nose, right? Why is it so important that we breathe through our nose? Well, let's think about, and this is something that we have known for thousands of years. That is, it is the 6 in, 6 out is embedded in prayers and chants, very well-known prayers, like the Ave Maria, the Catholic Rosary, but in Latin, right? If you research that and you research like the Kundalini chants, you'll see that they are very specific about how you vocalize and how you inhale, or in the time, how much in seconds. Even in our scriptures, the breath of life was into the nostrils. If you peruse any medical textbook, one function of the mouth that you will not see is breathing. The statistics show that 70% of the population has dysfunctional breathing, and all dysfunctional breathing is that you are overbreathing. You're a mouth breather, you're a shallow breather. 85% of the panic disorder population has dysfunctional breathing. Over 85% of the population that works in an office environment has dysfunctional breathing. If you are living in your head, if your mind is always racing, there's a good chance you have dysfunctional breathing. So right now I'm at about 10 minutes, so I should have just completed a mile. I think I even give the 1 mile signal at some point, but I'm still looking, and I hope that I still look in this way the whole time, right? I felt good when I was done. So I should be hitting a mile soon. So let's start at the tip of the nose, right? When air enters the nose, the shape and the contour of the nose start pressurizing the air. The nose starts humidifying the air and starts warming it for perfect saturation into your lungs. As you are nose breathing, your sinus cavities are producing nitric oxide. And I'm going to get into that here a little bit, but what nitric oxide does is it purifies the air. It removes bacteria, fungus, and viruses, all viruses. Make sure that that doesn't get into our lungs. So the nose has about 30 functions, and most of them, if not all, are there to keep us disease-free, infection-free, and virus-free. So then the nitric oxide follows the air into your lungs for 22% better or more oxygen uptake. Nitric oxide is only produced when you're breathing in and out of the nose. It is not a function of mouth breathing. Mouth breathing, if you have to mouth breathe, think about it. When are you mouth breathing? Well, your nose is stuffy maybe. That's a sign of stress for the body. You just did a run, or you went upstairs and you have to open your mouth to breathe because your nose hole doesn't feel big enough. Well, you're a little stressed out. It's a sign of stress for the body. So if you are breathing with your mouth or shallow, fast breathing, you're just signaling your brain to get your body into fight or flight mode. More on that a little bit. So nitric oxide, in 1992, it was named the Science Magazine Molecule of the Year. Nitric oxide is also produced in our blood vessels. We have about 60,000 miles of blood vessels. As we get older, our arteries stiffen, nitric oxide production decreases, which is ironic, right? Because nitric oxide actually keeps your arteries young and flexible. So when air comes into our nose, basically the air becomes fully conditioned, right? It's conditioned air, just absolutely perfect for oxygen saturation. Nitric oxide also signals the brain to tell the blood vessels to relax and dilate. Nitric oxide is the main ingredient in Viagra. If you are not breathing in a way that produces nitric oxide, which is slow, light, and deep, then you're doing the opposite. And when you're doing the opposite, that actually constricts your blood vessels. Fast, shallow, or mouth breathing constricts the blood vessels. So there is a myth about the deep breath, right? You take a deep breath and you feel better. I mean, it kind of does feel good, right? But what you're really doing is you're constricting your blood vessels. Nitric oxide significantly decreases your chance for stroke and heart attack by reducing cholesterol, reversing the buildup of plaque in the blood vessels. None of this occurs when you're breathing through your mouth. And this is all solid research, guys. This is not made up. This is not the woo-woo. This has been already studied in Harvard. Look at all the main schools. It's out there. Well, you have to kind of go search for it. So nitric oxide also improves your physical performance, right? It also delays lactic acid formulation. Is that right? It delays lactic acid forming in your body. It keeps you have more endurance when you are nose breathing. I can tell you that personally. So also for hormone issues, and this is for both men and women, right? Because we all produce hormones. Well, it helps keep hormones balanced. It helps with increased neurotransmission. It helps to prevent high blood pressure. Again, none of this happens if you're breathing through your mouth. If you ask any vet about their animals and what they see when they see an animal breathing through their mouth, and they know that it's a sign of stress, right? If you have an animal, except for dogs, right? They pant. So I'm at about the 15-minute mark, so I'm about 1.5 miles. So let's talk about the autonomic nervous system, right? You got the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic is fight or flight, the parasympathetic is rest and digest. If you are breathing through your mouth, or fast chest or shallow breathing, you are putting your body in fight or flight mode. Your brain's main function at this point is to get your body out of the danger that your breathing is telling it that it is in, right? So whether you are in a war zone, or you are in a jungle, or you're just surfing the web, if you are fast breathing or mouth breathing, then you're going to become agitated, because what happens is adrenaline is released into the body, sugar dumps into the bloodstream, so you can have energy to run from or fight or flight. But that never happens because you may be just sitting there dysfunctional breathing. So let's think about this. So you're in fight or flight mode, you're on high alert, everything's getting your attention. Think about doing this day in and day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, maybe for years, that you're in fight or flight mode. As you walk around in this mode, everything's getting your attention, you're constantly searching, sounds like ADD, right? As a matter of fact, there's 100% correlation to ADHD and mouth breathing or over breathing. And if you think about it, it makes absolute sense. If you're breathing through your mouth constantly, you're fast breathing, you're in fight or flight mode constantly. Now, how you breathe during the day is how you are going to breathe while you're sleeping. Your breathing does not automatically slow down when you get ready for bed. It keeps on, you're going to keep on breathing faster than you should. When you sleep, you're sleeping in fight or flight mode. You're sleeping with one eye open. You are telling your body, hey, I'm in danger, but I need to sleep. Let's stay half awake. And that leads to being half asleep when you're awake. Another thing, when you're mouth breathing when you sleep, your pituitary gland does not produce vasopressin. Vasopressin is a fluid regulator. It tells your body, hey, we are in deep sleep, let's not get up to pee. But this only happens if your mouth is closed while you sleep. If you are prone to snoring, if you have obstruction, OSA, which is obstructive sleep apnea, or you just sleep with your mouth open, because why? Because it really doesn't stay closed on its own unless you train it, then you are most likely not getting quality sleep. You are waking up with dry mouth. You are waking up fatigued, tired. You are not ready to go for the day. And the reason for that is you woke up several times throughout the night. And the reason for that is because you're breathing through your mouth while you sleep. So how do you breathe 100% of the time through your nose while you are awake and while you're asleep? Well, listening to this, hopefully we'll start making a little bit more conscious of it. A lot of my students will tell me that they didn't realize how much mouth breathers they were, And some I'll ask, in the beginning when you come for a private session, you fill out a form, and one of the first things that we'll talk about is, are you a mouth breather? And everybody's going to say no. And then you start being conscious of your breathing, and you realize that you are a mouth breather. So the exercises that I teach are to keep you very conscious of your breath, but not only that, but to slow your breathing down throughout the day so that you can be more present. When you are in fight or flight mode, you are not present. Your mind is racing. One of the reasons that I got into breath work was for anxiety, and my mind is always racing. Well, imagine being able to control your state of mind at will. That's what conscious functional breathing will do for you. So come out to the class, fourth Saturday of every month. If you're listening to this in September, it will be September 24th, or book a private session. give me a call. We can talk on the phone. I'll give you a 15-minute free consultation on what's going to happen, how I can help. I am located in Bees Wellness Cafe and Juicery, 3030 Thousand Oaks. So I am coming to the end of my 2 miles, I think. I was running like a 10-minute mile-an-hour pace. So I'm trying to tell the cameraman to, hey, tape where I'm at, see that it's at 2 miles. I can barely make it out there, what it's saying, but, oh, it's because I keep switching it and you can't see. There you go, 2 miles and 3 seconds. It's a little over 2 miles. So now for the cool down, very important. All the time when you're exercising, when you're cooling down, breathe through your nose. But thank you for listening. I hope this helps in some way. Thanks for listening, everybody. You guys have a very blessed day, and I'm showing off as I was running, I was looking at that juice. It is cold pressed juice, 100% actual cold pressed juice from Bees Wellness Cafe. That one is the Autumn Pear, one of my favorites, especially after running 2 miles, pure nasal breathing. Thanks for joining, you guys. Have a blessed day.